So when we talk about this one, we're getting started again where we were last week when we closed out the origin of the universe. We talked about the obviousness of the fact that God must exist, or there's something that created our entire universe out of nothing, right? We're going to be going on the other side later on as we move along on this, looking at things that are revealed. Jesus Christ, the fact that you have a soul, this idea of evil, you know, to put those in a context that show God exists. We're tonight talking about design. And then Julian's going to do another exercise with you guys. And I want you to hit me with questions now or interact with me here because I want us to really be able to think about this. This idea of design, we look at most things. I'm going to do a little something with you on screen to talk about design to see if you can wrap your head, because most of us would say when they see design, they know it, right? Like an example, Megan's wearing this sweater. Do you think it's designed?
She crocheted herself, yes.
All right, so you just define design as someone doing something in some way. Why? How is that a definition of design, the fact that she crocheted it, let's say? How is that design?
Because it takes work and thought to create something.
Okay, so now you're adding the word create, and then she threw in a mind. There's some kind of an exterior, immaterial mind that has to think in order to create.
Yeah.
That's what she kind of said, right? She just basically went through John chapter 1 with that little statement. If you ever, this is what you should do. When you think about these things, relate it back to what the Bible says, bless you, and see if you can connect it. So here's the argument. This argument is really simple. And we've had a class already on logic, right? You guys remember that class? All right, this is a premise. A premise is bless you, is a statement you make with the goal of it being self-evidently true. That's the goal. It should stand on its own. So this one says, all designs infer a designer. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
All right, so that makes sense. There's great design in the universe. How do you know? Look around. It says just look around, okay? So would everybody agree with that? With premise 2? You think so? Atheists would agree with that.
We're going to have to. Otherwise, I mean, take the solar system alone. It's never changed. Like, we're always doing the same thing, and it provides life in such a unique way.
Okay, so let's combine what Megan said with what you said. Last week we went over the Big Bang Theory. Now I'm talking about the Big Bang Theory as it's taught in universities, which said that chaos over time evolved into order. That's what the Big Bang Theory says. Everything didn't explode into order according to secular universities' teaching. It slowly evolved and gradually, even though we saw how gradual it was, we're talking seconds, started forming itself. So his example of the solar system, secularists would say, no, it didn't. There's no mind or design behind that. It just came about by gravity or different things. So there are people who would argue and say that's not self-evident. We have to think a little bit more because we don't want to be thinking just like Christians. We want to think about whether or not we're biased. The first one I agree with. The second one, everybody may not agree.
Well, I could say, well, there's not oxygen on any other planets except Earth in our solar system, so therefore, there's no purpose.
Okay?
I mean, that's just one thing.
How do you know there's only oxygen on the Earth?
Because that's what our experience.
Yeah, that's it, though. Is experience a good judge of truth?
No, because there could be other options.
That's right. It's subjective thinking. We don't know today. And the other point is, does oxygen a sign for life? It's necessary, but it's not sufficient. Do you know what I mean about the difference? Water is necessary for life, but it's not sufficient. You need a lot more for life than just water. Same thing with oxygen. So, just something to think about. So then the conclusion is there must be a great designer. So we gotta think through this tonight and see whether or not we agree. If you can get to the point where you agree with this, you can use it. This is my point. When you're learning this material, have it available. We want to have simple arguments in your pocket that you're confident with, that if you're ever in a discussion, you could just pull them out and use them. So we want them to be this simple, okay? So you know what I always love to do? Can we find any wisdom literature of the past that tells us there was some kind of an intelligent designer behind the universe? All right? So what I love is in Proverbs chapter 8, just one example. What do you notice in the ones that I underlined? What do you notice about each of those? Their actions, the work. Isn't this interesting? The Bible explains the creation and design of our world as someone did something. It was actually acted upon. So literally, clouds were established according to the Bible. The earth is marked out. It has boundaries to it. He assigned the sea its limit. Have you ever thought about that? That the sea has limits? It doesn't just go everywhere. We look at it because we're in a one-dimensional plane or a two-dimensional plane, and we think, oh yeah, when we get a flood, it goes up 6 feet, but then it comes back down. But it stays at a level all the time, and he's basically saying here that he assigned it that way. This is the way it operates. It's not haphazard. I love that about God.